The cranberry sauce hadn't even been passed around when Margaret Whitfield decided to destroy me. She can't give you children. Divorce her. My mother-in-law's voice sliced through the Christmas dinner conversation like a carving knife through butter. The words hung in the air, sharp and deliberate, as 23 members of the Whitfield family turned to stare at me. I set down my fork carefully, my hands steady despite the tremor in my chest. The dining room, with its towering Christmas tree and elegant gold decorations, suddenly felt like a courtroom where I'd been tried and convicted without testimony. 3 years, David. 3 years and her womb is still empty. Margaret continued, her diamond earrings catching the light as she shook her head in theatrical disappointment. The Whitfield line needs to continue. You need a real woman, not a... She paused, her lips curling, defective one. My sister-in-law Patricia nodded eagerly from across the table, always ready to follow Margaret's lead. I have a friend, David. Beautiful, young, from a good family. She'd give you babies within the year. The cousins murmured their agreement. Uncle Robert actually had the audacity to pat David's shoulder sympathetically. Even the teenagers looked uncomfortable, but no one defended me. No one except the man beside me, who had gone completely still. I was Lillian Whitfield, 32 years old, married to David for 3 wonderful years. What the family didn't know, what we'd chosen not to share, was that the Baroness Margaret spoke of so cruelly wasn't a failure. It was a consequence of the cancer I'd beaten at 25, before I'd even met David. The chemotherapy that saved my life had stolen my ability to conceive. David knew. He'd known since our 3rd date when I'd told him over coffee, expecting him to walk away. Instead, he'd taken my hand and said, "Then we'll build our family differently." But his mother? She knew nothing of my medical history, nothing of our plans, nothing of the journey we'd been on. She only knew that no grandchildren had appeared on her timeline, and that was unforgivable. Mother. David's voice was calm, too calm. I knew that tone. It was the same one he used in the courtroom when he was about to demolish an opponent's argument. That's enough. Margaret's face reddened. Don't you dare defend her. I've watched you waste your prime years on this barren woman. The Whitfield name will die because you're too blind to see what everyone else does. She trapped you. Trapped him. I found my voice, though it came out smaller than intended. I told him everything before. Of course you did. Margaret cut me off. You probably sensed his money, his status. What better way to secure your future than to marry a successful lawyer who's too noble to leave a broken woman? The words hit like physical blows. Around us, the family watched like spectators at a blood sport. The Christmas music playing softly in the background, Silent Night, felt like mockery. David stood up slowly, reaching into his jacket pocket. You're right about one thing, Mother. I have been keeping secrets. The room held its breath. He pulled out a thick envelope, the kind that held legal documents. Lillian and I have been keeping something from all of you. He looked down at me, and the love in his eyes made my throat tight. We've been going through the adoption process for the past 18 months. Gasps rippled through the room. Margaret's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Not only have we been approved, David continued, his voice gaining strength, but we've been matched. With triplets. 3 beautiful babies who need a home, who need parents who understand that family isn't just about blood. He turned to me then, and I saw tears in his eyes. Stand up, love. I stood on shaking legs, and he took my hand. There's more, he said, now addressing me directly while the family watched in stunned silence. I wasn't going to do this here, not like this, but I think it's perfect, actually. He reached into his other pocket and pulled out a smaller envelope. The agency called yesterday. There's a sibling, a 4-year-old girl named Emma. Her foster family can't keep her, and they asked if we'd consider. I gasped, my free hand flying to my mouth. We'd talked about Emma, had met her twice. She was shy, creative, had been through more in 4 years than any child should endure. The agency wanted to keep the siblings together, but 4 children at once. I know we said we'd think about it, David continued, but I already gave them our answer. All 4, Lily. We're bringing home all 4 of our children. The paperwork is here. We just need to sign. Tears streamed down my face as I nodded, unable to speak. David pulled me into his arms, and for a moment, the rest of the room ceased to exist. Then Patricia's sharp voice cut through. This is ridiculous. Adopted children aren't real family. David turned, still holding me, and his expression was cold fury. Aren't real family? Tell me, Patricia, what makes family real? Is it DNA? Because if that's the case, I have some interesting news about your father's medical history that might change your perspective. Patricia paled. Everyone knew Uncle Robert had been adopted as a baby, though the family rarely discussed it. Or as family, David continued. About love? About choosing each other every day? About building something together despite challenges? Because if that's the definition, then Lillian has been more family to me than any of you who share my blood. Margaret stood, her face contorted with rage. You're making a mistake. Those children will never be Whitfields. They'll never what? David's voice was deadly quiet. Never be loved? Never be accepted? Never be good enough for your country club friends. He laughed bitterly. You're right. They'll never be the kind of Whitfields you want them to be. They'll be better. He looked around the room, meeting everyone's eyes. Lillian and I have spent the last year preparing for our children. We've taken parenting classes, prepared their rooms, met with therapists to help with their transitions. We've done everything possible to be the parents they deserve. And not once, did we think we needed your approval. If you do this, Margaret threatened, you'll be cut off. No inheritance. No family support. Nothing. David smiled then, and it wasn't a nice smile. Mother, I'm a senior partner at my firm. Lillian runs her own successful marketing company. We don't need your money. As for family support, he gestured around the room at the silent relatives. What support? The kind that tears down instead of builds up? The kind that attacks instead of embraces? We don't need that either. He turned back to me. What we need is each other, and our 4 children who are waiting for us to bring them home. His voice softened. The agency said we can pick them up on New Year's Day. Start the year as a complete family. I finally found my voice. New Year's Day. I whispered. That's perfect. David. Margaret's voice was pleading now, realizing she was losing control. Please, think about what you're doing. The family name will be carried on by 4 amazing children who will know they were chosen, wanted, fought for, David interrupted. They'll know that family means showing up, supporting each other, and loving unconditionally. They'll never have to sit at a table and wonder if they're enough because someone will always tell them they are. He squeezed my hand. We should go, love. We have a lot to prepare before we meet our children. I nodded, wiping my tears. As we turned to leave, I looked back at the table, at the beautiful spread that hid such ugly hearts, at the family that had never truly accepted me, at the life we were leaving behind. Wait, I said softly. David paused, and I faced Margaret one last time. I want you to know something. I loved your son enough to tell him the truth about my condition before we ever discussed marriage. I loved him enough to offer to let him go. And he loved me enough to stay, to plan a different future with me. That's what real love looks like. I'm sorry you've never experienced it. Margaret's face crumpled, but I was already turning away. As we gathered our coats, Uncle Robert stood. David, Lillian, wait. He walked over to us, and to my surprise, extended his hand to David. I was adopted, he said quietly. Best thing that ever happened to me. Your children, they're lucky to have you both. Thank you, David said, shaking his hand. If you need anything, Robert continued, glancing back at the stunned table, furniture for the kids' rooms, help with the move to a bigger place, anything, call me. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. We left then, walking out into the cold December night. Snow was beginning to fall, soft and silent. David opened my car door, then paused. I'm sorry, he said. I should have stood up to her sooner. Should have protected you better. I touched his face. You protected me when it mattered most. And you gave me the best Christmas gift, the promise of our family. He kissed me softly. 4 kids, Lily. Are we crazy? Probably. I laughed through my tears. But it's the best kind of crazy. As we drove away from the Whitfield mansion, I thought about the Christmas dinner we'd have next year. It would be chaotic, messy, loud, and absolutely perfect. For children who needed love, and 2 parents who had so much to give. Margaret was wrong about one thing. I hadn't trapped David. We'd saved each other. And now, we were going to save 4 little souls who needed to know that family wasn't about blood or perfection, or meeting someone else's expectations. Family was about choosing love, especially when, it didn't look like what others expected. Our phones buzzed with messages as we drove. Some from family members, probably angry or trying to smooth things over. I turned my phone off. There would be time for all of that later. Right now, I just wanted to go home with my husband and start planning for our children's arrival. You know what? I said as we pulled into our driveway. We should keep the Christmas decorations up until they come home. Let their first memory be walking into a home that's still celebrating. David smiled, that genuine smile I fell in love with. I love you, Lillian Whitfield. All of you. Even the parts others call broken. Especially those parts, I corrected. Because they led us to our babies. As we walked into our house, soon to be filled with the laughter of 4 children, I realized Margaret had given us an unexpected gift. By trying to tear us apart, she'd only made us stronger. By trying to shame us, she'd freed us from seeking her approval. Sometimes the best families are born not from blood, but from the ashes of judgment and the phoenix of unconditional love. Our children would know that truth from day one. And that was the greatest gift we could give them.